The stars had always been kind to the people of New Harvest. For 3 generations, they had farmed the golden fields of Elysium 7, raised their children under twin suns, and lived in peace. They were simple people who wanted simple things. Good food, warm homes, happy families. They had forgotten what fear felt like. Governor Elena Vasquez remembered it now. She stood in the colony's control room, her hands shaking as she watched the sensors. The screen showed 47 red dots moving toward her world. 47 Vakari warships. 47 harbingers of death and slavery. "How long?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. 3 days, her communications officer replied. His face was pale. Maybe less. Elena closed her eyes. She thought of the 12,000 people under her protection. She thought of the 4,000 children who played in the meadows and attended school and drew pictures of their dreams. She thought of what the Vakari did to their prisoners. The Vakari were insects. Giant, intelligent insects who built their empire on the backs of slaves. They saw other species as tools, resources, things to be used and discarded. Their hive queens were always hungry for more workers, and human hands were particularly useful. "Send a distress signal," Elena ordered. "All frequencies. Every channel. Someone has to hear us." The officer nodded and began typing. The message was simple. It was desperate. It was honest. "This is Colony New Harvest on Elysium 7. We are under attack. 47 Vakari warships approach our world. We have no weapons. We have no defenses. We have 12,000 civilians, including 4,000 children. The nearest Concorde fleet is 6 weeks away. Please, anyone, help us." The message flew into the void. It traveled across star systems, bouncing off relay. Stations spreading through the galaxy like ripples in a pond. Most who heard it felt sorry, but did nothing. The Vakari were too powerful. Elysium 7 was too far. What could anyone do? But the message also traveled to Earth. Earth was humanity's birthplace, the mother world. Most humans had never seen it. They lived on thousands of colony worlds spread across the galaxy, trading and creating and building peaceful lives. Earth was a museum now, a place of ancient ruins and old memories. Few people lived there anymore. Beneath the ruins of old Geneva, deep underground, there was a room that had not seen light in 2,000 years. Dust covered everything. Machines sat silent and still. In the center of the room stood a single console, its screen dark and dead. The distress signal reached this room. A light blinked on, then another, then 100 more. Screens flickered to life. Systems that had slept for millennia began to wake. A computer program, older than most civilizations in the galaxy, analyzed the message. It heard the words, "under attack." It heard children. It heard "help us." The program made a decision. Across Earth, in hidden chambers and sealed vaults and forgotten bunkers, more systems activated. In the mountains of old America, beneath the deserts of old China, under the frozen lakes of old Russia, machines began their work. Cryogenic pods that had maintained their frozen passengers for 2,000 years started the revival process. Inside these pods lay humanity's darkest secret. The galaxy knew humans as peaceful traders, artists, diplomats, friendly people who smiled easily and made friends everywhere. The galaxy had forgotten or never knew what humans were before they spread to the stars. Humans were predators. 2,000 years ago, humanity had nearly destroyed itself. The wars of that age were so terrible, so bloody, so complete in their devastation, that the survivors made a vow. Never again. They would become peaceful. They would choose kindness. They would lock away the weapons and the warriors and build a better future. But they were not stupid. They knew that someday, something might threaten their children. Someday, some enemy might mistake their kindness for weakness. Someday, humanity might need its monsters again. So they kept them, frozen, sleeping, waiting. They called them the War Titans. In a vault beneath Old Geneva, the first pod completed its revival cycle. Cold air hissed as the seal broke. Ice crystals fell away from the glass cover as it slowly opened. Inside lay a woman who looked perhaps 50 years old, though she was born 3,000 years ago. Her hair was gray and cut short. Scars marked her face and hands. Even in sleep, she looked dangerous. Her eyes opened. They were gray, like storm clouds, and absolutely cold. General Yuki Tanaka took her first breath in 2,000 years. Her lungs burned. Her muscles ached. Her mind struggled to shake off the fog of centuries. But the training was still there, buried deep in her bones. She forced herself to sit up, to stand, to walk. A screen on the wall showed her the distress signal. She watched the face of Governor Elena Vasquez. She heard the fear in her voice. She saw the data about the Vakari fleet. "Computer," Tanaka said, her voice rough from disuse. "How many children?" 4,000, General. "How many enemies?" 47 warships. Approximately 15,000 soldiers. Revival status of other Titans? 847 units are currently reviving across all facilities. Tanaka nodded slowly. 847. That would be enough. That would be more than enough. She walked to a locker on the wall and opened it. Inside hung a uniform she had not worn since the Battle of Ao, when her forces killed 90 million enemy soldiers in a single week. The galaxy thought that war was ancient history. The galaxy thought humans had forgotten how to fight. The galaxy was wrong. Other pods were opening now. Other Titans were waking. Old soldiers with old skills and old memories of blood and fire. They had been the best warriors humanity ever produced. They had won wars that should have been unwinnable. They had committed acts so terrible that history tried to forget them, and they had done it all for one reason: to protect their people. Tanaka dressed in her uniform. She checked her weapons. She walked to the communication center where other Titans were already gathering. They looked at each other with eyes that understood. They did not need to speak. They knew why they had been awakened. Someone had threatened humanity's children. "Status report," Tanaka ordered. Admiral Kofi Asante, a tall man with white hair and kind eyes that hid a ruthless mind, stepped forward. "Fleet is powering up. The old ships are still functional. We can launch within 6 hours." Sergeant Major Viktor Volkov, built like a bear and twice as dangerous, cracked his knuckles. "Ground teams are ready. Just point us at the enemy." Dr. Mei-Lin Chun, the woman who had invented weapons so terrible they were banned by every civilization in the galaxy, adjusted her glasses. "Weapon systems are online. All of them." Tanaka looked at her old comrades, her old monsters. They had agreed to sleep forever so humanity could have peace. They had accepted their role as forgotten nightmares, but someone had sent a distress signal. Someone had called for help. "Ladies and gentlemen," Tanaka said quietly, "it seems the children need us. Let's not keep them waiting." Far away, on Elysium 7, Governor Elena Vasquez stared at the approaching fleet and prayed for a miracle. She did not know that her miracle was already on its way. She did not know that she had awakened something ancient, something terrible, something that loved humanity more than it loved its own soul. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. News of the awakening spread faster than the ships themselves. Every species, every world, every station turned their sensors toward the human fleet. They watched 12 ancient vessels travel through space, heading toward a battle that seemed impossible to win. 47 Vakari warships against 12 human relics. The numbers were laughable. The outcome seemed obvious. The Vakari ambassador to the Galactic Concord gave a speech that was broadcast across 1,000 worlds. "Let them come," he buzzed, his insect mandibles clicking with amusement. "Humans are peaceful creatures, soft, weak. They have not fought a war in 2,000 years. Their warriors are museum pieces. Their ships are antiques. We will crush them, take their colony, and teach them their place in the galaxy." Many species nodded in agreement. Humans were kind and friendly, yes, but they were not fighters. Everyone knew that. The Vrikari had conquered dozens of species. What could humans do against them? But not everyone agreed. In the halls of the Concord, the elder races gathered in private. These were species who had traveled the stars before most civilizations existed. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had watched countless wars unfold across the galaxy. They remembered things the younger races had forgotten. "The humans are moving," Ambassador Zihokira said to her colleagues. "Have you searched your archives? Have you found the old records?" The Morvathi delegate, an ancient being made of living crystal, pulsed with concern. "We found them. First contact records. 2,000 years old. Our ancestors wrote warnings about humans." "What did they say?" asked the Eldrani representative, a creature of pure energy who flickered nervously. "They said humans are predators who taught themselves to be prey. They said humans chose peace the way a warrior chooses to put down his sword. The sword still exists. The skill still remains. Only the choice changes. And now someone has threatened their children." Zihashikira's voice was grave. "I do not think the Vrekari understand what they have done." Across the galaxy, humans also watched. On trading stations and colony worlds, in ships and habitats, billions of humans followed the news. They saw their war titans for the first time. They learned about the old wars, the terrible battles, the bloody history their ancestors had tried to forget. Many felt ashamed. This was not who they were anymore. They had evolved past violence. They had chosen a better way. But some felt something else. A young human woman on a trading station watched General Tanaka's face on a news broadcast. She saw the cold gray eyes, the scars, the absolute confidence. Something stirred in her blood, something she could not name. "Who is she?" she asked her grandmother. The old woman looked at the screen for a long time. "She is what we used to be," she said softly, "before we decided to be what we are now. She seems dangerous. She is dangerous. They all are. That is why we put them to sleep." The grandmother paused. "But sometimes, child, you need dangerous people. Sometimes kindness is not enough. Sometimes you need monsters who love you." The human fleet continued its journey. Inside the flagship Leviathan, General Tanaka studied the tactical data. 47 enemy ships, 15,000 enemy soldiers. A colony with no defenses. Children waiting to be saved. The numbers meant nothing to her. She had faced worse odds. At the Battle of Io, she had led 50,000 soldiers against 2 million enemies. At the Siege of Mars, she had broken an army that outnumbered her forces 20-1. Numbers were just numbers. What mattered was will. What mattered was skill. What mattered was how much you were willing to sacrifice. "General," Admiral Azanti said, entering her quarters, "we will arrive at Elysium 7 in 16 hours. The Vrikari fleet is already there. Have they begun landing troops?" Yes. First wave touched down 2 hours ago. They are moving toward the colony. Tanaka nodded slowly. "And the colonists?" "Barricaded in the central complex. Governor Vasquez has organized the defense as best she can. They have no weapons, but they have sealed the doors. They are holding. How long can they last? Against 15,000 Vrikari soldiers?" Asante shook his head. "Hours, maybe less." Tanaka stood and walked to the window. Stars stretched endlessly before her, cold and ancient and indifferent. Somewhere out there, 4,000 children huddled in fear, waiting for monsters to break down their doors. "We will not let them fall," she said quietly. "General, with respect, the math is difficult. Even at maximum speed, we arrive after the Vrikari break through. Unless Unless we go faster. Asante hesitated. The engines are already at maximum. If we push harder, we risk structural failure. These ships are old. How old are the children on that colony, Kofi? The Admiral closed his eyes. He understood. I will give the order, he said. The human fleet accelerated. Warning lights flashed on every ship. Engineers shouted protests. Metal groaned under the strain. But the ships flew faster, pushing beyond their limits. Racing against time, on Elysium 7, the situation was desperate. Governor Elena Vasquez stood on the walls of the central complex, watching the Vakari army approach. Thousands of insect soldiers moved across the fields, their weapons gleaming in the twin suns' light. They moved with terrible precision, clicking and buzzing to each other, hungry for conquest. Behind her, 12,000 people waited. Families held each other. Parents tried to calm crying children. Old people prayed to gods they barely believed in. They knew what was coming. They knew there was no escape. Governor, her assistant said, the Vakari commander is demanding our surrender. He says if we open the gates, they will be merciful. Elena had read reports about Vakari mercy. Slaves worked to death in mines. Children separated from parents and trained to serve the hive. Humans used as living tools until their bodies broke. Tell him no, ma'am. If we fight, they will kill us all. If we surrender, they will take our children. Elena's voice was steady. I would rather die fighting than watch that happen. She looked up at the sky, still hoping, still praying. Someone answered our signal, she said. Someone is coming. We just have to hold on. Far above the planet, the Vakari fleet waited in orbit. Hive Commander Scrix watched the human ships approach on his sensors. He counted 12 vessels against his 47. He calculated their weapons, their speed, their trajectory. He laughed. They send museum pieces to fight us, he told his officers. Ancient ships with ancient weapons. They will die quickly. Commander, one of his subordinates buzzed nervously. The elder races have issued warnings. They say humans are more dangerous than they appear. The elder races are cowards. They fear shadows. Humans are merchants and artists. They have not fought in 2,000 years. Their warriors are fossils. Scrix opened the communication channel to the approaching fleet. Human vessels, this is Hive Commander Scrix of the Vakari Dominion. You are outnumbered 4-1. Surrender immediately, and we will show mercy. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Silence for a moment. Then a voice came through the speakers. A woman's voice, calm, cold, absolutely confident. Vakari Commander, this is General Yuki Tanaka of the Terran War Titans. You have 6 hours to withdraw from this system. Take your ships. Take your soldiers. Go home to your queens and tell them what you saw here. Scrix clicked his mandibles in amusement. And if we refuse? Then you will learn why we were sleeping. The channel closed. Scrix laughed again. His officers laughed with him. The idea of 12 ships threatening 47 was absurd. The idea of ancient warriors defeating his modern army was ridiculous. But deep in his insect brain, in the part that remembered being prey on his ancestral world, something whispered a warning. Something told him to run. He ignored it. He would not ignore it for long. The news traveled fast. Chancellor David Okonkwo, leader of the Terran Commonwealth, received the report while eating breakfast with his family. His coffee cup shattered on the floor when he read the words. The War Titans were awake. The monsters from humanity's darkest age had risen from their tombs. He flew to Earth. Immediately, the shuttle landed near the ruins of Old Geneva, in a field of wild flowers that grew where great cities once stood. Armed guards led Okonkwo underground, through tunnels that smelled of dust and time, until he reached a vast chamber filled with activity. Hundreds of people moved with purpose. They wore old uniforms, carried old weapons, and spoke in old languages. They checked equipment, studied maps, and prepared for war. They looked like ghosts from another age, because that is exactly what they were. "Chancellor Okonkwo," a voice said. "Thank you for coming." He turned and saw her. General Yuki Tanaka, the demon of Iyo, the woman who had killed more people than any human in history. She looked small in person, almost grandmother-like, but her eyes made him want to run. "This is madness," Okonkwo said. "You cannot do this. The Concord will not allow it. Humanity does not fight wars anymore. We settled this 2,000 years ago." Tanaka tilted her head slightly. "Someone did not inform the Vrikari. The Concord will handle it. They have peacekeeping forces. They have diplomats. They have protocols. Their peacekeeping forces are 6 weeks away. The Vrikari arrive in 3 days. Their diplomats cannot negotiate with slave masters. Their protocols mean nothing to 12,000 people who will be in chains by next week." Tanaka's voice was calm, patient, like a teacher explaining something to a slow student. "Including 4,000 children." Okonkwo clenched his fists. "You are relics, remnants of a shameful past. Humanity moved beyond violence. We chose a better path." "Yes," Tanaka agreed. "You did. And do you know why you were able to make that choice?" She walked to a screen on the wall and pressed a button. Images appeared. Old images. Terrible images. Cities on fire. Bodies in the streets. Ships exploding in the void. The wars of humanity's past, shown in all their horror. "Because we fought these wars for you," Tanaka said softly. "We killed and died and burned so that your generation could know peace. We became monsters so your children could become angels. We agreed to sleep forever so humanity could forget what it was capable of." She pressed another button. The images changed. Now the screen showed Colony New Harvest. Happy families. Playing children. Green fields under alien suns. Then it showed the Vrikari fleet. The slave ships. The processing camps. "But we did not sleep so that you could be helpless," Tanaka continued. "We did not sacrifice everything so that our children could be taken by insects. We made a deal, Chancellor. Humanity got peace. We got frozen tombs. But if anyone ever threatened our people, truly threatened them, we would wake up." She turned to face him directly. Someone sent a distress signal. Someone called for help. "Here we are." Okonkwo stared at her for a long moment. He wanted to argue. He wanted to order her to stand down. But he saw something in her eyes that stopped him. Not cruelty. Not bloodlust. Something else. These old monsters loved humanity. They loved it so much that they had agreed to be forgotten, hated, erased from history. They loved it so much that they slept in cold tombs while their descendants built a peaceful civilization. They loved it so much that they woke up the moment someone threatened human children. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "Nothing you would not give freely. Let us handle the Vrikari. Let us save the colony. When it is done, we will return to our tombs and sleep again. You will never hear from us. History can forget us again. Your peaceful galaxy can continue. And if I refuse?" Tanaka smiled sadly. "Then we go anyway. Those children do not have time for politics." Okonkwo closed his eyes. He thought of his own children, his grandchildren. He imagined them on that colony, waiting for the Vrikari to arrive. He imagined what would happen to them. "Do what you must," he said quietly. Tanaka nodded. She did not gloat. She did not celebrate. She simply turned and began giving orders. The war titans moved faster now, with new purpose. In the shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt, ancient warships powered up for the first time in 2 millennia. They were ugly ships, brutal ships, ships designed not for exploration or trade, but for one purpose only: to destroy enemies completely. Their names reflected their nature: the Ragnarok, the Apocalypse, the Gerdmering, the End of Days. Admiral Asante walked the bridge of his flagship, the Leviathan. He ran his fingers along the control panels, remembering. 2,000 years ago, he had commanded the Ghost Fleet, a force that appeared from nowhere, struck without mercy, and vanished before the enemy could respond. His tactics were considered so brutal that the Galactic Concord banned them. "Old friend," he murmured to his ship. "One more hunt." Sergeant Major Volkov gathered his ground teams. 200 war titans, each one worth 100 normal soldiers. They checked their weapons, their armor, their supplies. They did not joke or laugh. They were professionals preparing for work. A young modern human, one of the Commonwealth observers, approached Volkov nervously. "Sergeant Major, sir? How do you feel about killing again? After so long?" Volkov looked at the young man. He saw the fear in his eyes, the confusion. The modern human could not understand how someone could be so calm about violence. "I do not feel good about it," Volkov said honestly. "I never felt good about it. Killing is ugly work, dirty work. It leaves marks on your soul that never wash away." He paused. "But there are children on that colony, 4,000 of them. And there are creatures coming to put chains on them, to make them slaves. To hurt them." He picked up his rifle and checked its charge. "I will feel bad about killing later, after the children are safe." Dr. Maylin Jen worked in the weapons bay, her assistants preparing the systems she had designed 2,000 years ago. Prometheus warheads, singularity bombs, cascade missiles. Weapons so powerful, so terrible, that she sometimes woke up screaming from dreams about them. She hoped they would not need to use them. She hoped the Valkyrie would see the human fleet and run away. But if they did not run, everything ready? Tanaka asked, appearing beside her. "Yes, General. Though I hope we do not need any of it." "So do I, old friend." "So do I." 6 hours after awakening, the War Titan fleet launched. 12 ancient warships, carrying 847 of humanity's most dangerous soldiers, flew toward Elysium-7. The Galactic Concord watched in shock. They had thought humans were peaceful traders, artists, diplomats. They had never seen human warships. They had never imagined humans could build such things. The elder races, the ones who had been in the galaxy the longest, reacted differently. Ambassador Z. Hachikara of the Cathani found old records in her species' archives. Records from first contact with humanity 2,000 years ago. She read the assessment her ancestors had written. These creatures are apex predators who have chosen to become herbivores. They have put away their fangs and claws. They smile and trade and create beauty. But do not mistake this for their nature. This is their choice, and choices can be unmade. Do not threaten their young. Do not provoke them. Do not make them remember what they are. Chira watched the human fleet on her sensors. She watched 12 ships fly toward 47 enemy vessels. And she felt something she had not felt in centuries. Fear. For the Valkyrie. The 6 hours passed. The Valkyrie did not leave. Hive Commander Skrix watched the human fleet with contempt. 12 ships against 47. Old technology against new. Soft humans against hardened warriors. He ordered his fleet into attack formation, certain of victory. He was wrong. The battle began at 0600 hours colony time. The Valkyrie fleet moved forward in a standard assault pattern, weapons hot, shields raised. They expected the humans to meet them directly, to fight like civilized species did. The humans did not fight like civilized species. Admiral Asanhi had spent 2,000 years sleeping, but his mind was still sharp. The Ghost Fleet tactics were still burned into his memory. He gave his orders quietly, calmly, and his ships obeyed. The human fleet scattered. 12 ships went in 12 different directions, disappearing into the sensor shadows between asteroids and debris fields. The Vrakari sensors lost them immediately. One moment they were there. The next moment they were gone. "Find them!" Scrix screamed. His officers searched frantically. They scanned every frequency, every wavelength, every possible hiding spot. Nothing. The human ships had vanished like ghosts. Then the first Vrakari ship exploded. It happened without warning. One moment the cruiser Victory's Child was flying in formation. The next moment a human ship appeared behind it, fired 3 precise shots into its engine core, and vanished before anyone could respond. The cruiser broke apart in a ball of fire. "Contact!" an officer shouted. "Behind us!" Another human ship materialized from nowhere, unleashed a devastating barrage on 2 more Vrakari vessels, and disappeared again. Explosions blossomed across the fleet. Screams filled the communication channels. This was not a battle. This was a hunt. The Vrakari had studied human history. They knew humans were peaceful traders who had abandoned violence. They did not know that before becoming peaceful, humans had perfected violence to a horrifying degree. They did not know that Admiral Asante had written a book on ambush warfare, and that every human captain knew his methods by heart. The Ghost Fleet tactics were simple but devastating. Never fight fair. Never stay still. Never give the enemy a chance to respond. Strike from shadows. Kill quickly. Vanish. Repeat. Within 40 minutes, 23 Vrakari ships were destroyed or crippled. Their fleet was in chaos. Their formations had collapsed. Ships fired wildly at shadows, hitting nothing but empty space. Scrix watched his command screen with growing horror. This was impossible. Humans were weak. Humans were soft. Humans did not fight like this. "Commander," one of his officers buzzed, "we must retreat. We cannot fight enemies we cannot see." "No." Scrix slammed his claw on the console. "We are Vrakari. We do not run from prey." As he spoke, the Leviathan appeared directly in front of his flagship. For one eternal moment, Scrix stared at the ancient human vessel. He saw its weapons powering up. He saw its forward guns targeting his bridge. Then General Tanaka's voice filled his speakers. "You should have run." The Leviathan fired. Scrix died without understanding what had happened. The remaining Vrakari ships scattered. Those that could flee did so. Those that could not were destroyed. Within 1 hour of the battle's start, the Vrakari fleet was broken. Burning wreckage drifted through space where 47 warships had flown. 12 human ships had done this, but the battle on the ground was not over. 15,000 Vrakari soldiers surrounded the colony. They had breached the outer walls. They were cutting through the final doors. The colonists had minutes left. Drop pods fell from the sky. 200 war titans descended on the Vrakari army like angels of death. Their pods slammed into the ground around the colony, throwing up clouds of dirt and fire. Before the dust settled, the titans were already moving. Sergeant Major Viktor Volkov was first out of his pod. He was an old man, technically gray-haired, weathered, born 3,000 years ago. But his body was a weapon, trained and honed and perfected over decades of warfare. He moved through the Vrakari soldiers like wind through wheat. The Vrakari were good fighters. They had conquered dozens of species. They had millions of victories behind them. They had never faced humans who remembered how to fight. Volkov's rifle sang. Each shot found its target. Each movement was perfect, economical, deadly. The Vrakari around him fell and fell and fell. They tried to swarm him with numbers. Numbers did not matter. What mattered was skill. What mattered was training. What mattered was 2,000 years of humanity's most refined killing techniques, passed down from generation to generation until war became an art form. Around him, the other Titans moved with equal precision. 200 soldiers against 15,000. The math seemed impossible, but the Vakari were dying faster than the Titans dot inside the colony. The people heard the battle. They heard explosions and gunfire and screaming. They held their children close and waited, prayed. The final door was almost breached. Vakari soldiers cut through the metal, eager to claim their prizes. The door fell. Behind it stood a wall of human soldiers. Volkov was at the front. He was covered in blood, most of it not his own. His rifle was empty. He held only a knife. A knife was enough. "You want these people?" he said quietly. "Come take them." The Vakari charged. They should not have charged. 20 minutes later, it was over. 15,000 Vakari soldiers lay dead or dying on the fields of Elysium 7. Not one had reached the colonists. Not one had touched the children. Volkov walked through the shattered door into the colony itself. 12,000 people stared at him in shock. They had never seen such violence. They had never imagined humans could do such things. A little girl, no more than 6 years old, approached him slowly. She wore a yellow dress. Her face was streaked with tears. She looked up at the giant blood-covered monster who had saved her world. "Are you an angel?" she asked. Volkov looked at her. Something broke inside him. Something that had been frozen for 2,000 years. He knelt down so their eyes were level, and his voice was impossibly gentle. "No, little one, I am not an angel. Then what are you?" He thought about it. He thought about all the killing he had done, all the wars he had fought, all the terrible things he had become so that children like this could exist. "I am a monster," he said softly, "but I am your monster, and I will never let anyone hurt you." The little girl looked at him for a long moment. Then she hugged him. Her small arms wrapped around his neck, and she held him tight. Viktor Volkov, the man who had survived the Battle of Europa against impossible odds. The man who had killed more enemies than he could count. The man who had frozen himself for 2,000 years because he was too dangerous for peaceful society, began to cry. He cried for the first time in 2,000 years, and somewhere above them, watching through the cameras, General Tanaka saw this moment and understood. This was why they fought. This was why they existed. Not for glory. Not for victory. Not for themselves. For a little girl in a yellow dress. For the children. Always for the children. The galaxy would never be the same. News of the Battle of Elysium 7 spread across every world. Every station, every corner of known space. The numbers were impossible to believe. 12 human ships had destroyed 47 Vakari warships. 200 human soldiers had annihilated 15,000 Vakari troops. Not a single colonist had been harmed. The Vakari Dominion, which had terrorized species for centuries, sent diplomats instead of warriors. The Hive Queen sued for peace for the first time in their history. Their message was simple and humble. We made a mistake. We will not make it again. Other aggressive species suddenly found reasons to reconsider their expansion plans. Border conflicts cooled. Invasion plans were quietly canceled. Everyone had seen what happened when you threatened human children. No one wanted to find out what would happen if you actually hurt them. The Galactic Concord held emergency meetings. Diplomats and leaders struggled to understand what they had witnessed. The humans they knew were kind, peaceful, friendly. The humans who had just destroyed the Vakari were something else entirely. Ambassador Chira of the Cathani addressed the assembly. "For 2,000 years," she said, "we have known humans as traders and artists. We forgot what they were before. We forgot the warnings our ancestors left us. Now we remember. What were they?" A young diplomat asked. "Predators," Jira said simply. Apex predators. The most dangerous species our galaxy has ever seen. They did not become peaceful because they were weak. They became peaceful because they were so strong, so deadly, so capable of destruction that they frightened themselves. They chose kindness the way a warrior chooses to sheath his sword. She paused, but swords can be drawn again. On Elysium 7, the war titans rested. Their ancient ships orbited overhead. Their soldiers walked among the colonists, helping with repairs, clearing debris, rebuilding what had been damaged. They looked like grandparents visiting family, not warriors fresh from battle. Governor Elena Vasquez found General Tanaka standing alone at the edge of the colony, watching the sunset. The twin suns painted the sky in shades of orange and purple. General, Elena said carefully, the people want to thank you. They want to hold a ceremony. Honor you properly. Tanaka did not turn around. That is not necessary. You saved us. You saved our children. How can we ever repay that? Now Tanaka turned. Her gray eyes were softer than before, sadder. Live well, she said. Raise your children in peace. Let them paint pictures and sing songs and dream of futures we never had. That is all the payment we need. Elena hesitated. Stay, please. You have done so much for us. You deserve to live among us, to know peace yourself. Tanaka smiled, but there was no joy in it. Look at me, Governor. Really, look. She held up her hands. They were scarred, calloused, shaped by decades of violence. These hands have killed more people than live on your entire world. This mind has planned battles that ended millions of lives. This heart has learned to ignore screams and tears and suffering. She let her hands fall. Your children draw us as angels. They see protectors, heroes, but we know what we are. We are monsters. Beautiful, necessary monsters who love humanity enough to stay in our tombs so the rest of you can stay innocent. But the children love you. They call you the guardian angels. Let them remember us as angels. It is a kinder memory than the truth. Chancellor Okonkwo arrived on Elysium 7 the next day. He walked through the colony, seeing the damage, the repairs, the people who had been saved. He saw children playing in the fields, laughing, happy, unaware how close they had come to horror. He found Tanaka in the command center, preparing for departure. I owed you an apology, he said. I called you relics. Remnants of shame. I was wrong. Tanaka nodded slowly. You were not entirely wrong, Chancellor. We are relics. We are reminders of a darker time. Humanity was wise to move past us. But you came when we needed you. That was always the deal. She turned to face him fully. Humanity needed to evolve, to grow past violence, to become something better. But evolution takes time, and the galaxy is not always patient. Someone had to stand guard while humanity grew up. And now? Now we go back to sleep. The children are safe. The enemy is defeated. Our work is done. Okonkwo struggled with something. Finally, he spoke. What if we need you again? Tanaka's smile was gentle and terrifying at the same time. Then we will wake up again. We will always wake up. That is our burden, our purpose, our gift to humanity. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Sleep well, Chancellor. Live in peace. Build a beautiful future. And if the darkness ever comes again, if anyone ever threatens what you have built, her eyes grew cold. Know that we are here. We will always be here, waiting, watching, ready. The departure ceremony was small. The colonists gathered to watch the war titans board their ships. Children waved goodbye. Parents held their families close. Governor Vasquez stood at the front, tears streaming down her face. Sergeant Major Volkov paused at the shuttle door. The little girl in the yellow dress ran up to him and handed him a piece of paper. A drawing. It showed a large figure surrounded by smaller figures, all holding hands. Above it, in a child's handwriting, were the words, "Thank you for protecting us." Volkov looked at the drawing for a long time. "I will keep this," he said softly. "I will look at it when I wake up. It will remind me why we do what we do." The girl hugged his leg. "Will you come back someday?" "I hope not," he said honestly. "I hope you never need me again. I hope your world stays peaceful forever. But if bad things come," he knelt down one last time, "then I will come too. I promise." The war titans boarded their ships. The ancient fleet rose into the sky, climbing past the clouds, past the atmosphere, toward the stars. The colonists watched until the ships were gone, swallowed by the vast darkness of space. On Earth, the tombs waited. General Tanaka was the last to enter her cryogenic pod. Dr. Mei-Lin Chen had already sealed the weapons vaults. Admiral Asante had powered down the fleet. Sergeant Major Volkov had taken his position, the child's drawing clutched in his frozen hand. 847. War Titans prepared to sleep again. Before her pod closed, Tanaka recorded a final message for humanity's archives. Her voice was steady. Her words were chosen carefully. "To our children's children's children, we hope you never hear this message. We hope you continue to be kind, to create beauty, to seek peace. We hope you forget we exist." She paused. "But if the darkness ever comes again, if anyone threatens what you have built, know that we are here, sleeping beneath your feet, waiting in the silence, praying we are never needed. We are your monsters, your protectors, your first and last defense. Sleep well, little ones. We are watching over you." The pod closed. Ice formed on the glass. Systems powered down to minimal. Silence fell over the tombs once more. Years passed. Decades, centuries. Humanity continued to grow, to trade, to create. The Battle of Elysium 7 became legend, then myth, then half-forgotten history. New generations were born who knew nothing of war, nothing of the terrible price their ancestors had paid. The galaxy remained peaceful, and deep beneath the surface of Earth, in chambers that had not seen light in generations, ancient machines continued their patient work, monitoring, watching. On a console in Old Geneva, a single light blinked steadily in the darkness. Ready. One day, a young human diplomat was asked by an alien colleague why humanity kept its war titans, why they maintained those terrible tombs when they would never need such violence again. The diplomat smiled gently. "Because the galaxy learned something important at Elysium 7, she said. "Humans did not become peaceful because we are weak. We became peaceful because we are so very, very good at war that we chose to stop." She glanced toward Earth, toward the sleeping giants beneath its surface. "And sometimes," she added softly, "the choice can be unmade. Far below, in the darkness of ancient tombs, the war titans slept on, dreaming of battles fought and children saved, waiting for a call they hoped would never come, but ready. Always ready, because humanity's children were worth any price, even the price of becoming monsters."